Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again for the last time in 2016 coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the top 10 worst films of 2016 per my opinion, and there were a lot of stinkers this year. So this list, I had probably close to about 20 films to choose from everything that I saw. I saw 160 films this year, and so I chose my top 10 from those 160. It was kind of tough to do because there were, again, a lot of stinkers this year. But these were the top 10 which I thought stunk the hardest and the most. And so we were going to talk about them. Obviously, I have not seen everything that came out this year. There were a lot of really bad films which I just chose. I'm not going to go and see that. I'm not wasting my money. And so they obviously haven't made it onto this list. But there were a lot which I did choose to go see for the sake of doing a review. And I wish I hadn't so badly. So let's talk about these top 10 worst films of 2016. Number 10 on this list has to be The Disappointments Room. This is a film which had a decent concept to it because it played on the idea of the time in history where children who were born with physical deformities or some sort of disability, they were stuck in this disappointment room because they were a disappointment to the family, and they just lived up there until they died. At a reasonably young age. And so it plays on this idea that this family, they move into this house because mom needs to get away from the craziness. This film didn't help. And they come across this disappointments room. It is haunted because you discover, oh hey, a family that lived here, they have some crazy stuff that happened to them. And just the rest of the film which follows doesn't really work that well. It tries to play on like the mental illness aspect of it, and it works okay in that regard, but as a film it's just not good. It's not very captivating at all, and it was just easily one of the biggest disappointments of the year because this was a film that I had somewhat hope for being good, but as I was proven multiple times this year, if a film is delayed a lot throughout the year, it's going to be bad, and this film was no exception. And so Disappointments Room, my number 10 choice. Number 9 probably proved to be a bigger disappointment than Disappointments Room, and that is Allegiant. Now I will say this, I enjoyed the first two Divergent films. I thought Divergent was a fun sci-fi teen book adaptation. It worked fine, it had an interesting concept, I enjoyed it for what it was. Insurgent, again, fun movie, did well enough for me to enjoy it for what it was. Allegiant was shit. On top of being predictable as all hell, and just making the main character just useless and stupid and not seeing, oh hey, this place isn't going to be good. It apparently changed a lot of what the book had for that final arc and that final storyline, because as I was walking around the theater, I've never read the books, but I heard people who have, as I was walking to my car, say it didn't even follow the books, which makes no sense when you're doing an arc based on the final book. I understand if the book is huge, like Deathly Hallows or something, and you have to split it into two films to do it justice. Fine, whatever, as long as you do it well. When you just add in extra shit just to make two films for the sake of making two films, it doesn't work well. And this film just showed and was a perfect example as to why you should not do two films for your final act. And yeah, it was so bad and it did so poorly in the box office that it downgraded the finale, which is the actual finale for this film, to a TV film. So it's not even going to show up in theaters, thank God, so I don't have to watch it. And I feel so bad for Shailene Woodley and Miles Teller because they're really good actors and they're stuck in this role. So yeah, Allegiant, so bad. Number 8 showed us why jump scares are stupid and should be forbidden from any horror films unless they're legit jump scares, and that is Shut In. This was another film which was pushed back a number of times throughout the last couple of years. They finally released it, and it's stupid. And I basically compared it in my review to The Boy, except it was a dumber version of The Boy, which is also on this list. Be ready for that. Basically, this mom, she has an adolescent kid who is just a problem, and so she sends him away to get help, and car accident happens, dad dies, kid is paralyzed supposedly, and so she's taking care of him. Weird stuff starts happening around her house as this young child, played by the kid from Room last year, which was a fantastic film. He is in this film, and he's just kind of coming and going. She has dreams about him, which they don't really lead into anything, and it's just, it's bad. It's just really, really bad. And the last half hour, which just is like the big, oh my god, what is going on? It's dumb. It's just really, really dumb. Poorly acted, poorly executed, and easily one of the worst films of the year. So, Shut In, my number 8 choice. Number 7 is easily the worst comedy of the year, and that is Masterminds. Dear God, I saw this when I was in Chicago because it's like, oh, I gotta see everything that comes out, and I wish I hadn't so badly. It stars Zach Galifianakis and Kristen Wiig in the two main roles. It also has Owen Wilson in the film as well. It's just not good, not funny. Basically, Zach Galifianakis is tricked into robbing his employer and has to flee to Mexico. Thinks that he's going to be joined by Kristen Wiig, who he is in love with apparently, and it's just a really bad, really dumb movie, and just doesn't have a good finale at all, and was a waste of a night in Chicago, that's for sure. So yeah, Masterminds, number 7 on this list for a very good reason. Number 6 is also a film which I mentioned a couple minutes ago, and that's The Boy, which was advertised as a horror film a la Chucky to an extent. Dear God, this thing was stupid. I would say this thing is better advertised as a romance because it plays more into the idea of the female actress who is from The Walking Dead. She's good in that show, and her person who is bringing her supplies while she's babysitting this doll, them fall in love, developing a romance over taking care of this doll child. And that's what it felt like for the majority of this film, because it's just not scary. Anything which happens, which is scary, is in a dream sequence until like the last half hour, which, granted, when it was happening could have been fantastic and made this film a huge surprise for me. But then it goes stupid. And it just makes no sense. And just, oh my god, made me hate the film even more. And it was one of the biggest wastes of time that I saw in January. And that's saying something, because there was a lot of crap which came out in January, as does. But The Boy is just not good at all. So yeah, number 6 on this list. Now we are at the top 5. Oh my god, these are getting difficult to talk about because they're so bad. Number 5 is The Brothers Grimsby, which I haven't seen on any worst list, and I have no idea why. I hated this film so much. Maybe I'm just not someone who reciprocates Sacha Baron Cohen's humor, or Mark Strong trying to react to that. The trailers made it look like a decent comedy. I hated this film because it was just so stupid. And one of the things that I personally don't like about Sacha Baron Cohen's comedy is that he is usually sexually annoying, in regards to the fact that he makes sexual jokes without them needing to be sexual. And there's just the most disturbing scene in the film, and if you've seen it, you know probably what I'm talking about, which I'm pretty sure I had to look away from because I was just like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen and the most disgusting thing I've ever seen on a TV screen, or a movie theater screen, I guess. It was terrible. It had, I think, a few maybe small chuckles from me, and that's about it. But this was stupid, and I hated it so much. And so yeah, Brothers Grimsby, go away forever, and it's my number 5 choice. Number 4 was my worst film of the summer of 2016, and that is The Darkness. David Mazouz plays the kid in this film and basically takes some sacred rocks from a Native American burial site, and it causes the spirits of those Native American spirits to start haunting this family and creating this darkness which is enveloping the household. Oh my god, this thing was boring. And that's the worst thing which a horror film can do, because if you've noticed anything about the horror films which have been on this list, it's that they were boring as fuck. And that's what The Darkness was. Every film on this list has potential. Every horror film on this list, at least, has potential with its concept. It's just very poorly executed and makes for a bloody boring time in the theater, making me sit through an hour and a half of bullshit. If you want to see more of my thoughts, check out the review, as I've been annotating up here all throughout the video. But The Darkness is... it's so bad. It's one of the worst films of the year, and so, yeah, don't go and see this thing. If it's at Redbox for $1, don't go check it out, because it's terrible and not worth your time whatsoever. And now my top three. These are fun ones. Number 3 is Jane Got a Gun. This thing stars Natalie Portman and Joel Edgerton in the lead roles, and again, boring ass movie. It's advertised as this like, oh hey, revenge thing against Ewan McGregor, who did something bad to Natalie Portman's husband, and so, oh hey, while he's recovering, we have to recruit her ex-lover to, I think, to try to defend the household. And it's just a very boring first hour, which almost made me fall asleep. And while the ending had a decently fun gunfight at the end, it was just a very boring movie and did not work well at all. Yeah, it's disappointing with talent such as Natalie Portman and Joel Edgerton in it, and Ewan McGregor. You would think that they would band together and make a decent movie at least, and this was not good at all. I don't think it lasted more than a couple weeks in the theaters at the most, and I'm pretty sure I was one of the few people even in the theater when I saw this thing. And so, yeah, Jane Got a Gun. I think this thing has faded from existence because I haven't heard a word about it since I saw it. Now, these top 2 worst films of the year, I went back and forth on to an extent because they're both really, really bad for very different reasons. But ultimately, I hated one much more than the other. So number 2 is Max Steel. Max Steel is based on a Hasbro franchise, toy franchise, which they decided to make a movie about, and it was just not good at all. Because, for one thing, it's supposed to be a superhero origin story. The origin does not really work that well because all he's doing is radiating energy from his hands. He can't really use powers whatsoever, really, as far as I remember, at least all that interestingly. He has a somewhat funny sidekick which has a few comedic lines. The fact that he can just be knocked out of his super suit thing by being hit once, it's just like, done. It's like, no, that's not how you do it. It had terrible special effects. It was a terrible story, and one which just aggravated the hell out of me. It almost made me want to walk out of the theater watching it because it was so bad. And I was hoping that it would go somewhere decent, and it was just not good. And apparently there's a lot of Max Steel lovers out there, because I got some hate on my video when I reviewed it and hated on it. So, to each your own, but this thing was shit for me, and so I'm calling it as shit. And it is my number 2 least favorite film of 2016. And now the film, which was easily the worst film of 2016 for me personally, was When the Bow Breaks. Dear God, I've said this repeatedly in this video, but I hated this thing so much. Every September a film like this comes out, and it's so just piss poor bad, and I don't know why they keep doing them, because they make money on a very small budget. That's why they keep doing it. Morris Chestnut is in it. He's a good actor for what he does when he finds something which works for his type of style. So I was hoping maybe it would be decent. But the fact that the plot of this film revolves around someone who is a surrogate mother for this couple's child, and because they just can't have a kid for whatever reason, so she's like, oh, I'll do it for you, and she ends up being a psychopath who wants to try to get with Morris Chestnut. It just doesn't work well because there is just no real sense of drama to that extent, which might have worked somewhat entertainingly well, because she makes her advances on him and they're not reciprocated whatsoever. He does not feel any sort of temptation towards her. He is not interested whatsoever. And so as a result, when she's consistently trying to seduce him and he's just like flat out saying, no, stop it, this is not appropriate, it just becomes so awkward. It's just like, lady, get a hint. No means no. Stop what you're doing. If he was reciprocating and it's like, oh, hey, he seems kind of curious, and she just keeps egging him on until he finally gives in, then fine, because there's actually a reason for it, granted, to some extent. But when it's just like, no, I'm not interested, just stop doing it, because it just makes for a very awkward situation and a very awkward film. And just the rest of the film plays out extremely predictably as she becomes more and more psychotic. And then just the last 10 minutes of the film are just the stupidest things I've ever seen. Because, I'm going to spoil it because I don't give a shit. Basically, they end up running her down with a car after she has the kid and flees to a cabin. And then they stay in said cabin with their newborn. And when the police arrive, Morris Chestnut, he just goes out to confront the police, and then the film starts rolling the credits. And so it doesn't even give us like a proper conclusion to any extent. And it just starts rolling credits because they must have run out of their budget or something. And oh my god, I would watch any of these other 9 films over this one in a heartbeat because of how bad this thing was. I would watch Max Steel 10 times before I watched When the Bell Breaks Again, because it's just so bad and so awkward of a film, and it just made me hate what I did watching movies for that time period that I was watching it. And then, yeah, don't see this if you have the opportunity. Burn it at the stake if you can. But guys, those are my thoughts on the top 10 worst films of 2016. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you agree with my list? Did you disagree? Did you think that anything should have been on there, which I did not include? Did you think that anything should not have been included, which you actually really enjoyed out of this list? To each their own opinion-wise. If you like something that was on here, teach your own. Also, my buddy James DeSantis and I, we both did a video talking about our best and worst films of the year on his channel, so make sure to check that out. Links are going to be in the description as those videos are released. And I also did a top 10 most anticipated films of 2017 video with them, which will go up on this channel very shortly here, hopefully. And so make sure to keep an eye on that and subscribe if you want to get it right away. But guys, as always, those are my thoughts. Thank you again for a fantastic 2016, and I look forward to seeing you again on this channel in a slightly different format in 2017. So make sure to watch for that. And as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.